Whiskey 9, 7 November, interrogative Alpha Bravo. Negative Alpha Bravo. And this is 7 November Golf. Roger, request you check your Romeo side. I'll go ahead and check my Tango side. 7 November Golf out. 7 November 8 and 8 Cloud, 7 November, say again. 7 November, go. I copied a while ago, 1 Charlie transmission that my thing used, and 8 5, this is 7 November, Charlie. 8 5 right now. Now 1 Charlie, 7 November, go.
This is 1 Charlie, welcome to your last, you're Brandon 158 at the box side, 1200 between teams, that's local. Also request 3 units take outbound Nexus to see if we can try to get Whiskey 9 and 8 for Pond with the playground.
And this is 7 November, Roger, stand by.
Got that.
Got it? Alright. And all units, this is 7 November Golf, my unit Alpha, Echo, X-ray Alpha Alpha in there.
One Charlie, Alpha Bravo.
Hey, I never took a dip.
Whiskey 9, 7 November, interrogative Alpha Bravo. Whiskey 9, Yankee, 7 November Golf, over. This is Whiskey 9, go. Whiskey 9, 7 November, interrogative Alpha Bravo. Whiskey 9, Yankee, 7 November Golf, over. This is Whiskey 9, go. Whiskey 9, 7 November, interrogative Alpha Bravo. Negative Alpha Bravo. And this is 7 November Golf. Roger, request you check your Romeo side. I'll go ahead and check my Tango side. 7 November Golf out. 7 November 8 5, and 8 Cloud, 7 November, say again. 7 November, go.
All right, we are doing finally our live giveaway, raffle, drawing, contest, fight to the death. I'm not really sure what to call it, but what went down is we have a veteran who got 100%, had a substantial amount of back pay, and they felt obligated, the need to give back. So they donated a claim service from our claim company, Evidence-Based VA Claims. That's what we're going to do. So if you have not entered yet, you need to do it right now. You need to email VA Claims at ebvaclaims.com right there below, or visit ebvaclaims.com. At the end of this stream, I'm going to use a random number generator. I actually have that right here on the internet. I'm just waiting to use it. It's through 1 through 500. If we have more veterans, I can always change that number, and it will randomly select a number. I'll go through my email. That I can't show publicly. I don't want everyone's information just floating out there on the YouTubes. And then we will choose a winner. So if you haven't done that yet, do that right now. You have until this is finished. And I have no idea how long we're going to go. Jason and I didn't even talk about what we're going to be doing today.
Yeah. You know, and I wasn't even sure that you were going to do that. So keep in mind that now that he said that, we should actually draw a line somewhere, because he's going to have to go through and then add those to probably a spreadsheet, I'm thinking, so you can have them labeled as numbers. So it's going to be a little...
The email in chunks of 50, so I can count by 50s. We're good there. Don't worry.
Okay. All right. As long as you're good at math. All right. Sweet.
I'm as good as I'm going to be, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I hear you. That's kind of, you know, I'm always saying that. I'm as good as I'll be. Here we go. So, hey, thanks for everybody making it. We're glad you did. We're streaming here on 3 different channels, TheCivDiv, Veterans Daily, Veterans Info Tap. Regardless of which one you are viewing from, thank you for your viewership. your subscriptions, your memberships, all of that stuff really helps to keep this wheel moving. And for those that don't know, yes, we created evidence-based VA claims, and the question might be out there, why? And let's just answer that real quick, Clay. I'm going to let you give your answer, why we created it, and then I'll kind of give my double-tapped version as well.
Yeah, so I'll just speak from my perspective, and then Jason and I we like had the same thought process, because whenever we presented it to each other, it was like, oh yeah, I agree. So where I came from is it's really two different places. One, we see the state laws changing rapidly. North Carolina just hopped on board, I think, a few days ago. So you have North Carolina, Georgia, Florida. There's a few others that passed the Safeguard Act, or whatever it is they're calling it in the States. It's basically not the GUARD Act, right? It's pretty much the Plus Act that allows for VA claim companies to operate within the states, which protects them from state consumer laws, which we see VA Claims Insider kind of dealing with Texas right now. And that was a while ago. So we see this shift, and more so the VFW even doubled down and said, you know what? The GUARD Act might be too hardcore. The Plus Act is too hardcore on the other side. Maybe there is another way where accredited individuals or accredited groups can charge on initial claims. So that's pretty new. And that is what made me think, you know what, maybe we should do this. And the second reason I'm coming from is how many people have just the CivDiv, and Jason's channel has way more views than I do. Just the CivDiv, how many people have I indirectly sent to other companies that charge 5 times, 6 times the increase, knowing they're getting ripped off, because for a good bit there, we refuse to jump in that pile, and we still refuse, which is why we do the one-time upfront fee there. But that's where I'm coming from, Jason. I don't think we've had this conversation yet either. What made you kind of hop on board on that?
Yeah, I think it's an important conversation, right? Where we were and where we are, because really we leaned heavily forward on the don't go pay anybody to do anything. And now here we are in this boat. But the reason why our hand essentially got forced in a way, and like Clay said, I love that you put it this way, indirectly, because we weren't offering any sort of a service. People are going to other organizations and getting ripped off. Now, one of the things that's great, if you've been to the website, EB, which is evidence-based, so E Echo B Bravo, ebvaclaims.com, you're going to see on there something to the effect of, why should you use, this service, right? You shouldn't. Ideally, because look, here's the deal. We're not out there hustling, trying to, come over here and we'll do all your stuff for you. Look, if there's a way for you to do it yourself competently, right? I mean, that's the key. You don't want to just throw it against the wall and see if it sticks. Wrong thing. Put the effort in up front. If you have the time, the effort, the energy to do that, awesome. If you have a super great veteran service officer accredited with the VA, a representative, what have you, and they're solid, capable, and competent, those are my 2 things. If it's that, awesome, go do that. But there's a lot of people out there, Clay, that don't have those options available. And because we didn't have something set up, we were essentially saying, go to other places and go get your claim done. Good luck. So with all of this different legislation going through, you and I had plenty of conversations about, well, if it does turn the corner, me being from an accredited background as a accredited veteran service officer, from being in the benefits world for over a decade before I started YouTube. I'm older than Clay.
Say it ain't so.
Right. So I had all of this knowledge and stuff behind me, and it was like, this is kind of a weird situation. But now that we see some direction with the way the legislation's moving, we thought, you know what, let's just jump in now, offer some support, offer some coaching, and build a very, very strong team. Look, we could We could, Clay, honestly go, you know what? We're hiring cheeks in the seat. Anybody who wants to help, let's get them on board. I don't care if you were a bartender, a barista, you worked at a gas station, doesn't matter. If you want to help vets, let's do this. And we could hire 50 people, 100 people out the gate and have them sitting there in a call center environment, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's not going to happen. Why? Because your claim means more to us than that. So what we have done is we have hand selected specific individuals. Some of them I had worked with years and years ago as accredited representatives, former VA employees. And I'm going to save the last one here for you to share, the new addition to the team. And this just really magnifies how important getting it right the first time means to us. We don't want you to come back going, you know what? Hey, we missed out on these opportunities. Can we try this again? No, let's just figure that out up front and go from there. Now, granted, nobody can foresee an increase that happens to be because you got worse or a secondary that creeps up. But we're going to get you right the first time. Clay, talk to the people about how important it is to hire the right people, have those people in place, and our new addition to the team.
Yeah, I'll start with a new addition, just swinging out the gate. We have Kishkin. All right, so he's also a moderator on the TheCivDiv Discord. He answers questions, and he's also a VA rater, an actual VA rater. He teaches other VA raters. He's joined the team. More to follow on that. He's actually coaching right now. He just had his first 3 veterans, I think. And that's going to be rolling soon. So he's also teaching our other coaches. But even before that, whenever we started this team, we thought about like, how are we going to roll this out? And I'm not a business person at all. I don't even know how we got to where we're at right now. It's kind of crazy. But I pretty much hand selected people that I knew had been around for a while, that were answering questions. And it was the way they answered the questions where I was like, this person is not an idiot, right? Because I can tell you right now, 5 seconds of speaking to someone about VA claims, they either know what they're talking about or they're just regurgitating what they've heard. And so every single coach that we have, I trained personally. I didn't train Kishkin. Obviously, he's a VA rater. He would be training us, right? He's the new addition. But all the other coaches, I trained one-on-one by myself. And it's been going really good. Really, really good. So Kishkin, welcome to the team. He's a VA rater. And yeah, pretty solid. Before we go any further, we have to recognize new memberships. So Sean Z, I'm just going to say Z. I tried, man, in my head, not out loud. Thank you very much for joining either of the channels. We definitely appreciate that. Dan Ringman, thank you for joining. We have Jeffrey Campbell. Awesome. We have Secret Sauce. Hello, Clay Looking, Moy Hermosa. That is all. I don't know what that means, but I'm going to assume it means beautiful. Thank you. All right. And Stanley Coleman. Stan, like the rooster.
Yeah.
Being a member, we definitely appreciate that. Yeah. So back on evidence-based. Oh, yeah. To make this clear, Kish is he's on his way to VA, retiring from the VA. So as far as legal, ethical things.
Yes.
He's good. No, I felt like that should have been mentioned. Yes. Yeah, that's what we do. Evidence-based VA claims. We look at what I will say, Jason, is I'm going to do it in a way that's like not pinpointing other companies. But from what I've seen is a lot of companies go after the easy things, which are increases. Hands down, increases are the easiest claims. Increase everything your service connected for, blanket increase, let it go, boom, you owe me 5 times, 6 times the increase, right? That's not how we roll at all. We actually look at the opposite, the hard stuff. So we'll use something called the 5-step process. This is something I've been preaching on forever.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? It's how you genuinely maximize your benefits. It's 5 steps. It's increases. That's easy peasy, lemon squeezy. You're at mental health. You're rated for PTSD at 30%. 2 questions. Do you have the symptoms at 50% or higher? 2, what is your evidence that shows you have the symptoms, right? Because evidence-based VA claims, we're not going to submit wild, off-the-wall claims were really, really, really hardcore on evidence, primarily through your VA provider or private provider. So that's increases. Then we look at secondary claims. We're looking at symptoms of potential conditions. And then secondly, this part matters. So I think everyone glosses over this, Jason, that for secondary claims, it's your ability or inability to obtain new and relevant evidence. Like, what motivation do you have to go speak to your primary, get the diagnosis, talk about hypertension, talk about you taking a diuretic and you using the restroom? What is your ability or inability to do that, right? That is critical there for secondaries. Then you have denials. That's the hardest part. I can tell you right now, if you reach out to us and you have a difficult claim situation, you're going to go to Kishkin. I'll tell you that right now. Anyone who has a really, really hard VA claim situation, Kish is kind of reserved for those who are dealing with like queues, who are dealing with really difficult denials. That's really where Kish is going to shine for sure. So if you have a hard claim, you get Kish as your coach. That's pretty cool in my book. Then we look at new claims, initial direct, and it depends on that basis of service connection. And then obviously your evidence for from service for initial direct claims. And then we look at presumptive and terra. And so you're going through the theories of service connection, direct, secondaries, aggravation, right? Kish puts up 1151 here, terra, presumptive. We basically look at every single avenue of service connection and then every single thing you could possibly claim. And we'll kind of label those as like favorable claims, unfavorable claims. So for instance, let's say you want to claim IBS secondary to PTSD for whatever reason. If you don't have a diagnosis, I tell you right now, that's going to be unfavorable, right? Once you get a diagnosis, depending on some other evidence, we might say, hey, that's a solid claim. You should submit that. Anyways, that's basically what evidence-based VA claims is. I can talk all day on that. I'm going to kick it to you, Jason.
Yeah, at the end of the day, what happens is we get so, I think, myopic in our viewpoints, right? So as veterans, we tend to hyper-focus on specific conditions that we think are impacting us the most. And because we think that they are impacting us the most, we think that they should pay out the highest rating. Totally not true. In some cases, sure. In other cases, no, right? Somebody with maybe major mental health issues, maybe, yeah, they're going to get a really high rating. Maybe somebody with a back condition that they're going, this is the thing that is really, it's keeping me up at night. I can't sleep. I can't walk. I can't drive. I get all, you can, but you can only go so far before the pain, right? And so what happens is you start to hyper-focus on these specific conditions and you file just for those. You miss all the stuff on the periphery, which could help catapult you to that next level. I am a huge fan of a second set of eyes. And regardless, right, of where you're at in your own kind of space and putting things together, even if you're doing the claim yourself and you yourself are capable and competent, sometimes it's good to have that second set of eyes, go over things, have that conversation, go through the 5 steps from a different perspective, right? Being asked questions and having that back and forth kind of, thought process opens up the different doorways. The way I think about it, Clay, is our mind is a long hallway with a door at the back and a bunch of little doors on the side, right? And usually just that back door is open and things just come in and go out. The goal is let's shut that back door and let's start creeping into these side doors as we go through the mind, talking about the different things that you could potentially have that would be favorable with your VA claim. One thing that I have said before, and I'm going to say it again, I don't think I actually say it enough, to be honest with you. It's you must, from veteran to veteran, regardless of where your service took you, okay? You got zero say in where you went and what you did. Don't kid yourself. So don't hold anything against yourself on what you saw or what you didn't see. You had zero control over that. veteran to veteran, treat this process like a multi-million-dollar deal, because it is. It absolutely is. And the younger you are and the sooner you figure that out, the better. You ask anybody who's in their 70s or 80s who filed their claim for the first time, if they wish they would have done it earlier, and the answer is always going to be yes. It's never going to be like, no, nope, I'm happy I did it way late. No, everybody wishes that they would have done it earlier, and not only earlier, but correctly. Having that second set of eyes will help make sure that you get it done correctly the first time. It's going to give you the specifics. One of the things that we talk about a lot, Clay, is the nuances of VA disability compensation, filing for benefits, right? There's not a one-size-fits-all answer. It is very nuanced and very individual. This is that opportunity to really focus in on you. It allows you to take a knee, have a conversation with somebody who's capable and competent, not just cheeks filling a seat in a call center, somebody who's actually understands the process to work with you to make sure you don't miss anything in this multi-million-dollar deal. Did that spark any thoughts for you, Clay?
Yeah, it really goes back to the quality aspect, and I'm trying to say this in like a very PG way. I can tell you right now that a lot of veterans don't understand the earliest effective date. And that's something that will fly right over the head of any Joe Schmo who's helping you submit the claim, right? So what I mean by earliest effective date, let's say you rate a claim, you submitted whatever, you get 1 year back pay going from 90 to 100. Potentially the earliest effective date for that claim because of the queue could go back 10 years. Do the math on that. We're talking thousands and thousands, potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars. And it's very little nuancy aspects like that not only are we going to go through the 5 steps, but we're also looking at your entire claim situation of saying, hey, you missed the earliest effective date here. Maybe HLR that, maybe whatever the course of action is for your specific individual claim. And I think that's really what sets us apart. Then obviously we have the one-time upfront fee. And in my opinion, this is where claim companies go wrong. This is totally my opinion, by the way, is whenever you couple in-network providers with a company, right? So let's say evidence-based VA claims had a team of providers that only worked for us. Once you do that, the lines really start to get blurred there. And then you get indictments on companies for committing fraud like we see right now. And I'll kind of just stop that train right there. And so there's this, the way we structured evidence-based VA claims, ethically and morally were absolutely like we went back and forth on how are we going to structure it, how are we going to deliver it, at least for a month,
Right.
really hammering down that. What we should do, Jason, if you're down, let's answer a few questions.
Go for it.
And whenever we're tired, I guess we will do the drawing. All right.
All right.
Now, I totally didn't look through questions before I said that, so let me
Good for
find.
you.
Okay, here we go. Parades boys. Okay. With the Z. Recently, I've been dealing with hip and back pain due to my service-connected knee instability. 20%. I'll cover that here in a second. The way you worded that matters and how it affects to how I walk now. I'm diagnosed with radiculopathy and foot drop, but not service-connected. How can I connect them? All right. First off, the reason I said your wording matters, and I'm saying it like this directly to you. It might sound mean, but I'm saying it for a reason, just so you understand. We can't say your hip and back is connected to your knee. In fact, when you say it, it means absolutely nothing. No examiner, no healthcare provider is going to take you seriously at all. My counter question to you would be, what are the indications that led you to think your hip and back are due to your knee? Right? What's the evidence there? because you saying it means nothing. I want to know what the evidence is. And then I want to know what your healthcare provider is saying. Does your healthcare provider say your hip and back pain is from your knee? Because that absolutely matters. Now, you do have a 20% instability rating, which is much different than range of motion. 20% is, I don't want to say it's very severe, but it's definitely not like you're not willy-nilly running around everywhere you want, right? You might have a cane, a brace, something like that. Like it's more severe than a 10% for flexion, so to speak, or extension.
Yeah.
So it's definitely possible, but I want to know the evidence as to why that links your hip and back. Once your back is connected, radiculopathy is part of that DBQ. That's easy peasy. I wouldn't even worry about that. I would just worry about getting your back connected. Your hips are largely 0%, possibly 10. Hip ratings, they usually come in 3s, and it'll be like 10, 0, 0. And so my other question to you would be, what's your overall rating? And is the hip 10% worth it? Right? Because if you're at 86 and you get 10% and that brings you to 87, why would you spend $2,000 to get 10% when there's no change in your overall rating? So there's a few other questions I have on that. And then your foot drop, that's a whole other separate issue. Usually when you see musculoskeletal secondaries, generally speaking, it's from the ground up, right? So knees causing your back and hip, that makes logical sense there. Knees causing ankle or foot problems, not saying it's impossible. It's just a different thought process and it's difficult. And for anyone watching right now, that is essentially a miniature version of what you would get with evidence-based VA claims, right? Obviously, I would have more information on this veteran specifically, but from this comment alone, these are things I'm tagging, I'm questioning during the one-on-one, and depending on how the veteran answers, then we go about and say, hey, you know what? Maybe that 10% on your hip will increase your overall rating. Let's definitely explore that. Back pain's a given with radiculopathy, obviously. The foot drop, depending on what that looks like, and the veteran's other ratings, in my opinion, I would probably put that lower on the totem pole, unless the veteran's evidence was just outstanding, right? Do you have anything to add from that? And I tried to give like a EBVA claims lens to that.
Right. Yeah. So I really, really like, and this, I'm going to dive in on this one piece that you'd really tried to hammer the point home. It doesn't really matter what we say or what we think. You need evidence behind it to back it up. That is always going to be true. So you could do personal statements. That just helps to kind of build the story, but you need medical evidence. Now, a lot of people aren't, well, okay, because you are our audience, you may be well-versed. Most people aren't. Remember, there's millions and millions and millions of veterans out there, and I mean, 13 million or so are not connected with the VA for anything. So with that being said, many people don't understand that there is a nexus for a secondary condition. Nexus just means link. But most of the time when you hear the word nexus, we in this environment, right, this VA kind of world, most of the time when you hear the word nexus, it's relating to your service connection for a direct service connection, the nexus for that. But it is also the nexus between a current service-connected condition and a secondary. You need to have that evidence. Some things, like Clay had said, are pain leads to the back issue leads to radiculopathy. That's so well documented. It's kind of a self-evidence thing. I don't know what the right word is. You get it. The next one would be something outside of that takes a little more to, I don't know, build upon. So you would want to work with your doctor to really tie that together. A lot of veterans out there will get diagnosed for something and go, oh, well, this is because of this, and just submit it thinking that that's all they need to do. And if there's not a clear connection between the service-connected condition and the new diagnosed condition, you're not going to get anything. You're going to get a slap is what you're going to get. So you need to back up. You need to really build that evidence, the nexus between the service-connected condition and your secondary condition of whatever it is. Getting a nexus letter from your doctor could help to build that bridge. Another thing that you can always think about too is sometimes there might be a direction to direct service connection. Sometimes we also get wrapped around the axle on, well, this is going to be a secondary, when really there might be a path toward direct service connection. They pay the same, right? That doesn't matter, but you want to take the easiest path. And I will tell you that you might be surprised if you have not reviewed your service treatment records. In some cases, especially for the newer generation, you may have done an annual physical health assessment or your exit physical health assessment where there's, 50 questions. Have you now or have you ever experienced any of the following? It's just self-attesting. And you're saying yes, no, not applicable. And you're going through them all. It might say migraines. It might say painful, swollen joints. It might say heartburn. It might say tuberculosis. It might say anything, right? And you're checking all these boxes. And maybe you're thinking that your migraines are secondary to something else because you're trying to figure out a way to tie them in. But really, you documented it when you were in service on that self-attestment form saying that you were suffering from migraines or headaches. That might be enough to have a hook in to be able to now build upon that with a nexus letter tying it to your time in service. And that might be an easier route to go versus, say, adding it as a secondary. So there's, again, everything is so nuanced, right? That it takes having that direct one-on-one, your specific situation, and really diving into it with you. If you do not have your service treatment records, order them. Order them, order them, order them. It's a form. It's a very easy form. If you have multiple times in service, okay, if you have multiple times in service, you might have to mail it to different places. If you have some reserve time, you have some active duty time, that type of stuff, the records are in different places. On the back page is a list of where you send it based on what branch you were in and what time period you served. So read the back, see how many copies you need to make, mail them off. The form is SF, that's standard form, SF180, SF180, mail it out. And just a side note here, many of us come from military families or we have family members who had served somewhere in our family. If they had passed away and you would like to get their records, you can utilize that same form as next of kin and order those records as kind of a keepsake, right? I did that with my grandpa. You could do that. Just kind of, now I'm running down this path. Give me one more second. I just like to share this because this is things that like people don't know, right? And it's nice to have. So you can order other people's records, like your family members as next of kin, with that same form, SF180. It's good to have. The other thing that you can do is you can order what's called, if they're passed away, if they are deceased veteran, you can order what's called a presidential memorial certificate, and you can tell them how many you want. If you want 20 of them, they'll mail you 20 of them. They're nice. They're on thick cardstock, presidential seal. Looks great. It's nice to put in, as a kind of a memory of your loved one who had passed away. Again, another good keepsake. You can't pick the president, so you can't say I want George Washington's signature on it or JFK's or Ronald Reagan's, right? You have to, it's whoever's in office is who you get when you do it. It's not a real signature, it's a lithograph signature, but it still looks cool. The last piece, Clay, that I'm going to kick it back to you now that I'm going down this avenue. For those that don't know, you can order an American flag flown over the Capitol building, either at the earliest convenience, or you could pick a specific date and have it flown over the Capitol, brought back down, packaged up, mailed to you with the certificate of authenticity. And you can either take the canned response in the certificate of authenticity, or you could take a shortened version and add in yourself, like for, whatever, Grandpa so-and-so, for his time in service during World War, whatever, and da-da-da-da-da. And you could type in the rest of the message for that certificate of authenticity. You can order those through your congressional member's office. You just go online to their website. If you can't find it, give them a call. But you can just order it there. They're fairly inexpensive. It's like $25 or something, depending on what size flag you get. You can pick, I think, nylon or cotton and have it flown up over the Capitol. Just again, keepsakes, fun to have, veteran to veteran. It's kind of good things to keep in the family, in my opinion. All right. I know I went way off the rails. Oh, I mean, the only way I could go from there is start talking about cemetery stuff. So I'm going to back up and I'm going to kick it back to you, Clay.
Yeah. I guess I can trek to the Capitol. It's about 10 minutes from my house, and I can fly your American flag for you.
There you go.
Someone might think I'm protesting or marching, and then I'll be locked up. Anyways,
No, take your camera.
Okay.
Take your camera.
Stupid joke. Okay. Flame on HVAC. So let's do a few questions and then go ahead and get to this drawing here. Because at some point I'm going to have to do some math and look at it, but it's by 50s. So 50, 100, 150, my math is good. Okay. He says, can you guys do a segment on getting a lower rate for veterans to buy a house? First off, I'm so glad you asked this question. Makes our life a lot easier. Second, we need our billionaires to fund our mortgage 3% or lower. Please. We always have videos, multiple videos on all 3 channels, CivDiv, Veterans Info Tap, and our joint channel, Veterans Daily, with David Piatek, okay, from VA Housing Education. That is your one-stop. I am a big fan of when I don't know who does. I'm telling you right now, I'm not the house mortgage guy. Jason knows a lot about mortgage stuff, but David Piatek truly is. You can ask him any question, and he just, boom, rattles off the answer. And then we'll cite like the handbook or whatever it is the VA home loan stuff refers to. Circulars, I think they're called. And I learned that from David, by the way. But big shout out to David on that. Do you have any billionaire friends that can help this veteran out on his financing?
No, I'm waiting for that myself. That'd be great. That would be fantastic. Traditionally, I would say that your VA home loan rate is typically the same or a little better than conventional financing. And it's better than FHA financing because you don't have mortgage insurance tacked in there. So although it's not part of your mortgage payment, it is an extra add-on to it. So typically you're going to be better off with a VA home loan than conventional. Also, do your due diligence, reach out and have a conversation. Don't just look online and think that you're getting the correct answers. Reach out to David, like Clay said. He's solid. He is a veteran. He's currently serving in the National Guard. And, he is one of us. And that's why we have him on the channel, on all of our channels frequently, because he really is the VA home loan expert and fills that void very nicely for us. Back over to you, Clay.
Yeah, sweet. Okay. Ram C Charger 318 says, can I get some help? Maybe. Right. I want to go for migraine, secondary mental health. I have a diagnosis from my VA provider, but no Nexus. Couple things here. And we talked about this in a previous video. What I see when veterans reach out to evidence-based VA claims, because I read every single email, and I mean that, 98% of veterans get tunnel vision, just like this. Hey, I really want to go for migraine secondary. Forget everything else. I'm focused on migraine secondary, which is overwhelming majority. Probably not the best course of action to only focus on a single claim. So can you get some help? My counter to that is maybe, and I want to talk about our process too. When you email us, vaclaims@ebvaclaims.com, I'm going to send you a questionnaire. It's going to ask you 4 questions. All I need to know if we can help you are the answers to these 4 questions. Nothing else. Okay. I want to know what branch you served in, what your MOS was, and then what are your years of service. I want to know if you've been on any deployments or if you were stationed anywhere, mainly for presumptive and Terra connections there. I want to know what your service connected for. That's for increases in secondaries. And then I want to know what you've been denied. Those are for your denials. And so by answering those questions, I'm essentially hitting all theories of service connection. Depending on how you answer that, will determine if we can help you or not. And everyone who emails is going to get a free emailed consultation. You'll get the questionnaire, reply back with the answers, and I'll say, hey, I think we can help you. And I've turned away a fair amount of veterans to say, look, man, the number one veteran I turned away, Jason,
Yeah.
I need to show you the email here at some point of I have a label that said do not recommend, and just put all those veterans in there. I've had a ton, a really high number, maybe like 50 at least veterans on TDIU reaching out for an increase. And I'm just like, hey, brother, you need to understand that if you don't want to work, this is not for you. That's the most common do not recommend I run into, which I find very odd. We'll probably have to do a video about that. On just like what it is and what it's not. Anyways, that's a rabbit hole there. Do you have anything to add to migraine secondary? I will say this before I kick it to you. My bad. I love migraine secondary to mental health versus migraine secondary to tinnitus. The literature and evidence is a lot stronger for mental health, mainly on the PTSD, anxiety side for migraines and other conditions as well. Okay, what do you got?
Yeah, I agree. And, that's really the big thing, right? Is that the path of least resistance. Sometimes you'll get people that may have, let's say, tinnitus and mental health, and they're just assuming that it's because of their tinnitus because they saw 17 videos out there saying that migraines are secondary to tinnitus. Yeah. And really, again, there's so much out there, information that's okay and good, and then there's some that's great, right? We can only push out so much. So the great is basically, over here. And so the bottom line, though, is that having that look and peek into the person's situation really uncovers the easiest path and go, look, here's a cleared out path. Here's where somebody else already went through, right? The Pathfinder is good. Let's go. Versus let's trudge our own way, bust out the machetes and try to figure it out. That is not smart working. That is hard working. So again, another reason why a second set of eyes is important. This person happens to be on the right track. They need to tie it together and make sure that the nexus is clear. And with that, with all the other information that's out there, should be good to go. The big piece, I think, Clay, is this is important. Everybody listen. This is, I don't say a lot of really great things. This is one of them that's going to be great, actually. All right, so.
You have my full attention.
Right? Okay. So we often talk about getting that service connection, getting that secondary condition, getting those things approved. Great. Let's talk about that second piece of the pie that we have to worry about and pay attention to. Getting appropriately rated. Are your migraines a 10% rating or are they a 50% rating, right? You need to understand the complexities of the rating schedule, what sort of evidence needs to be applied, created, developed, whatever you want to call it, to support your specific condition so it gives you the appropriate rating within the rating schedule. Is everybody a 50% migraine sufferer for rating purposes? No, not everybody is. And not everybody's at 30 and not everybody's at 10. But if you're a 50, you sure as heck don't want to be rated at 10 because it was an afterthought. Okay. Mm-hmm. This is so important. And this is another aspect of the second set of eyes, evidence-based VA claims, working with you through your specific scenario to ensure that not only do you get service connected, you get service connected at the appropriate rating. Now, does the VA always get it right? No, but you're going to be in such a good position that you'll feel fairly confident going in for that higher level review if the VA screws it up. But more times than not, we're going to be good to go because you did it right the first time. We are not going to set people up for failure. That's unacceptable in our world here. I speak for Clay on that as well. Failure is not an option. We're here to set you up for success. And we're going to do it on both the service connection side, whether it's direct service connection, secondary, increases, and getting you the appropriate rating. Clay, back to you.
Yeah, no, exactly. Tunnel vision. The most common issue I see when veterans email us is tunnel vision, and they get so focused on things that don't matter. A good example of that is when I send a questionnaire, veterans will answer the 4 questions, and they will send me, and I'm not joking, like 1,000-word essay on whatever it is they're talking about. All that stuff comes out in the one-on-one. It's just the ability to maximize your VA rating. You have to cut all the fluff, and the only thing that matters is evidence. So people will say, like, I feel like I have a 50% rating for migraines. Like, great. No one cares about that. I'm saying it that way for a reason, because what matters is evidence, right? So what are your symptoms? Have you talked about your symptoms? Have you documented your symptoms? Are you on treatment? Does the treatment you're on, whether it's prescription, injections, migraine therapy, whatever they got going on, does the treatment correlate or correspond with your symptoms? All of that is hard medical evidence. And that's pretty much what we do at evidence-based VA claims. Okay. The dog whispers SR2. What's the 5-year rule for VA disability benefits? I think you just did a few rule videos on 10 and 20, if I remember, maybe like last week.
Uh-huh.
I'll answer the 5-year rule because I have a spin on it. It makes me mad. And then we'll just add the 10, 20s just because.
Yeah.
So the 5-year rule, this is coming from me, is basically useless. Okay. It's not really a rule. It is a speed bump. It's not a protection. I want to be very clear. 5 years is not a protection. It means nothing. The 5-year rule is a speed bump. So if the VA is going to mess around with your rating, they're going to need to be prompted, and they're going to need to have evidence, continuous evidence, not just a one-liner, to show that, hey, this veteran's condition improved. Therefore, his mental health at 70 it's not going to be proposed. It'll be reevaluated. And then the end result is likely going to be a proposed reduction. In order for the VA to do that, it has to decrease your overall rating. So that's the 5-year rule. Now, a lot of people correlate static with 5-year rule, which is essentially what it is. And I want to be clear here. Static pre-5 years means nothing. Okay. It means absolutely nothing, diddly squat. And I say that just to kind of hammer down the actual protections, which Jason's about to, there's only 3 of them, 10, 20, and then the VA SRD changes. Those are protections. The 5-year rule is just a speed bump. It's important to understand the difference because hallelujah, you've been healed and you report that. I'm telling you right now, you're getting smacked in the face. I had a reevaluation happen pre-5 years. Anyways, Jason, that's 5-year rule. Unless you have anything to add on that. And
yeah, my take's a little bit different. Mine's not as gloomy and doomy as yours.
I'm sorry. It's who I am.
So the 5-year rule, the way that I look at it is what you said. Okay, so from the speed bump perspective, yes. So if your condition, you get rated from the VA, and the VA deems that your condition may improve over time, they can do a reevaluation, and typically they're going to do that reevaluation between 3 to 5 years. Why? Because of that 5-year time period, right? So they want to do it before the 5-year period to see if you show any improvement. If you show improvement, well, then they can reduce you. If you show static, we'll call it, then they're going to just keep you where you're at. Once you hit the 5-year mark, which is, again, why they do that reevaluation prior to 5 years, once you hit the 5 years, they really have to go above and beyond with evidence against you. It can't, like you said, it can't just be a one circumstance. Wow, he was doing much better today. They have to document that over and over in order to really support reducing you. So all of that stuff plays into this factor. the factor of re-examination. It states essentially that the VA will not re-examine you if your condition has been deemed static for at least 5 years. Well, if your condition has been deemed static, it has not improved for that 5 years, the VA should not be reevaluating you for that situation, for that ailment. Because why? Because they're deeming it static and it's not likely to get better at that point. You have demonstrated over that 5-year period that it's not getting any better. It's the same as it's always been. So the VA, in a cost savings perspective, they're like, well, if it hasn't changed now, why are we going to keep evaluating you on this thing and wasting dollars and time on that specific condition? Now, if you prompt them in some way, hallelujah, you're healed, at 6 years, it doesn't mean anything. They're gonna start to document that, and then they're going to utilize that to reduce you. So let's slide over to the 10-year. The 10-year rule, and I kind of have the feeling you have with the 5-year with the 10-year. Like I'm more excited about the 5-year and what it does for somebody versus the 10-year. All the 10-year rule does is it does not allow the VA to sever your service connection for that condition. Okay, so you're connected for migraines. It's been 11 years. Great. You meet the 10-year rule. That means that they can never take away your service connection. They can still reduce you if hallelujah, they can reduce you to the lowest rating for that specific condition. So really, I don't know. It's great. Sure. Yeah. You're not going to take my condition away from me unless it's a fraud, right?
Yeah,
so
useless.
the 10 years kind of funky. It's really, you're just kind of going back to the fact that, okay, well, I've had my condition for 5 years. And so it's been static the whole time and you haven't reduced me. And so really my 5-year is really what's more strong, that I'm probably not going to get reevaluated anyway because of the 5-year. So as long as I'm not showing major improvements, I'm going to be fine and I'm going to keep my service connection. Who cares? I mean, if I'm 50% or 30% for migraines, I'm already good. Leave me alone. Let's move on. So the 10-year rule eliminates the ability of the VA being able to completely just sever your service connection. The 20-year rule is interesting. The 20-year rule there's a little complexity in it, and I'm going to explain it in 2 ways here. Once you hit 20 years, and let's use an easy example, you're rated at 30% for migraines for 20 years. 30%, 20 years. Now you've hit the 20-year rule. That means that the VA cannot sever your service-connected rating, your rating. They cannot sever your rating. So now you have a 30% protected rating from the VA for your migraines. You could completely heal and never have another migraine again in your life, and the VA will not mess with your rating unless it was a fraud. If it's a fraud, then they can. Now, this is an interesting part. Let's say you've had the condition for 20 years. You were 30% for 10 years. Then you got an increase to 50% for the next 10 years. So now you've been rated 20 years, but half was at 30, the other half at 50%. The VA will protect your 30%, the lower of the ratings during that time period. Once you hit 20 years at the 50%, then they will go ahead and protect that 50% rating. So really, they're looking at how long you've had that specific rating, and they'll give you that at the 20-year mark as a protection. Now, here's another piece, and then I'm going to kick it back to you on the 20-year. The only thing that they'll ever come back on the 20-year for is fraud. That's the only thing. If the VA screws up, not from fraud, right? They just screw up. Let's say somebody fat fingers something, and instead of saying it was your left knee, they said it was your right knee. And you got rated for your right knee, and you never went in to actually look. You just went, oh, great, knee, I'm rated, cool. If you're rated for your for the wrong knee, and you never say anything, and 20 years goes by, that rating is protected. The VA cannot come back and take that from you. Even if they discovered they screwed up, they won't take it from you. They just go, oops, our bad. So that's how powerful that protection is. All right, back to you, Clay.
Okay, I'm not muted. I was coughing there. Wanted to double check. Yeah, the rules are the 5-year rules. In my opinion, useless. The 10-year rule is whatever. Because if you hit the 5-year mark, you're fine. And if you do fraud, you deserve it anyways.
Right. And on that, don't give your password out to anybody.
Yes, absolutely. And then the 20-year rule, that's the one. You know, I had a veteran. I spoke about this before. Had a veteran wait. Let me just give you the background, really quick story. And he used our service as well. But he got out right before GWAT. So he got out in like 01 or 02, did 20 years. He was in the SF community. He had stuff going on in Panama and Bosnia, I assume, Kosovo. He was somewhere doing something, right? It was that weird peacetime / shieldstorm / peacetime pre-GWAT era, but it really wasn't peacetime because Panama, Bosnia, Kosovo, and that's just the 90s, not to mention Somalia, right? Lots of stuff going on there. He waited 20 years, Jason, not joking. Waited 20 years at 90%, no mental health claims at all. And on his, it was like a few months after his 20-year mark, he was like, okay, I feel comfortable making more claims. And I just spoke with him and looked at his evidence, and he had evidence of, we'll just say mental health, and you could just imagine. Clear as day, direct service connection, which, by the way, is the easiest. And then PTSD has its kind of own process, which makes it, I would argue, even easier. Anyways, he didn't want to poke the bear, which in his case, and I want to be very real here, he lost a minimum of 20 years, the difference between 90 to 100%. Now, don't do that math because it'll make you poke your eyes out, because I did it. During our one-on-one, I was like, just so you know, because you followed a saying that someone said once and this carried on of don't poke the bear, you lost out on a lot of tax-free dollars. Anyways, so I hear people say all the time, don't poke the bear, which I hate. I can't stand that phrase. And people will use it out of context too.
Yep. Agreed.
If one, I don't think we should ever say it, but if we are, because it's not going away, I think it should be reserved for those who are at 100% only. If you're not at 100%, poking the bear does not apply to you whatsoever. Poking the bear is really, you're at 100. Do you do the HLR for an earlier effective date, right? Like, that's poking the bear. It's very niche situations. There's never one answer. It's certainly not, I'm 85%, I don't want to poke the bear. It's like, well, to be frank with you, you're an idiot. Anyways, I'll just leave that right there. I don't mean to call that person an idiot. I'm sure he's watching right now. I love you, dude. But you did lose out on a bunch of money because someone told you not to do it. Anyways, it is time. We're almost at our hour mark. It's 58 and a half minutes we've been streaming. I think we should do the drawing right now.
Let's do it.
I have as you were talking, I was trying to get it set up here. This is our random generator. I just Googled this. It was the first link. I put 1 through 500 here. If it does a number, like we don't have 500 emails. We have at least, let me see, almost 400 emails. Okay. But I put 5 there just in case someone emails. So I'm going to refresh it one last time and then call that a day. But I tell you right now, during this stream, Jason, we have a lot. So what I'm going to do is hit this generate button, and then I need you to talk a little bit so I can do math. I got to count by 50s to get to the page.
Got it.
And then when I'm on the page, I have to count, in between.
Anyways,
here we go. Number, this is for the winner of the drawing, okay?
All right.
This
Bingo.
person, I want to be clear here. This person, if it's someone who already paid, you'll be refunded back. because all you had to do to enter was email us during the time frame, which was July 2nd. We'll call it July 1st just because I'm unsure. We'll call it July 1st. July 1st to right now. Fun fact, and more to follow, we're going to do this again. So don't go anywhere. I mean, we'll do it later in the future. And for those of you who emailed us, I'm telling you right now, I'm going to reply to every single person. So even if you don't win, I'll give you all the information for evidence-based VA claims up front. And if you want to use our service after that, you'll get a free emailed consultation after you answer the questionnaire. And then we'll kind of go from there. So here we go. No more talking. I'm going to hit generate. 185. That's not even that bad. Okay. I can definitely count.
That's good. That's good.
Okay. Take it from there.
Right.
Now,
So
what I just want to explain what I'm doing so people don't get all psyched out. I'm going to go to my email or our EBVA claims email. I'm not going to share that screen because everyone's names and all that stuff will be there. I'll count, and then Jason's going to talk until I'm ready.
All right. Ready? Good.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
so you good?
Yeah.
All right. He's thinking. Now he's got his thinking cap on. I wish it was that aluminum foil one. That'd be funny. So look, here's what's happening right now. Clay is finding out who the winner is. He's got to do some funny monkey math. And in the meantime, what I want people to really think about is what the next few months should look like. The next few months, what that should look like for you with regard to your claim, whether you need to file a claim, whether you need to potentially do an HLR, a supplemental claim, whatever it may be. Do you need to order your service treatment records? Again, SF180 is the form to order those service treatment records. Remember that we have changes coming. Right now, we're not exactly sure when they're going to go. It's going to be fairly soon. There are 4 different rating schedules that are proposed to be changed. The VA has already changed 10 rating schedules. The most recent was the digestive system rating schedule, where they made massive changes to the GERD rating. Not favorable for veterans, in my opinion. Now, the rating schedules that are being changed are auditory, respiratory, neurological, and mental health. Those are the rating schedule changes that are proposed to be changed here shortly. If you have your intent to file in place now, you're preserving today's date as your effective date. You're preserving today's date as a date to utilize the rating schedules that are in effect today, which means that if you have sleep apnea, for example, with a prescribed CPAP, you will have a 50% rating if they deem that to be service connected. All important things to keep your mind on as we keep moving forward. Clay, are you good to go?
We are. People kept emailing, so it was like pushing the numbers down.
Yeah,
and I didn't
yeah.
want to do that. Okay, so I'm going to say this person's name. I'm also going to email this person, Heidi Johansson. I'm going to put that in the chat so you get the correct Heidi Johansson. You won the raffle. Here's what's going to happen. I'm going to do this number 3 more times just in case Heidi ghosts us.
Good call.
Then we have a backup. I didn't think about this till just now. We have a backup, and then I'll do it a few more times to have a backup of the backup. So let me just hit 3 numbers, and I'll write it down here, 367. And then depending on who these people are, I will email you if Miss.
So then the question is how long do we give? Do we give like a 48 hours?
I think we do 48 hours. Yeah. Now
I think 48 hours is
going to
fair.
be. Yeah, I assume it's going to be very fast once I send this email out. Yeah, everyone's saying congrats. I just don't know if Heidi's here or what maybe her YouTube name is. Also assuming that's a girl. You never know. It could be a they. That's a uncalled for. Anyways,
I can't
so
take you
backup,
anywhere.
right? So 367, 177, and 273. In 48 hours, if Heidi doesn't respond, completely scratch her off. If it's 1 second after that, we'll scratch her off. We'll call it 307 right now. And then we'll go to 367. Same thing, 48 hours for that person. And then we'll go to 177, then 273. In the worst case scenario, we just do it again. Okay. Now, I doubt that will happen because we had a lot of people reach out. But anyways, that's all I got. Do you want to say anything or?
Yeah. Do you want me to do the thing? Huh? Is she there?
No, she's not.
Bummer. All right. Well, hey, congrats to Heidi that we don't see on here. Too bad you weren't here for the in-person. Maybe you jumped off, had real life to deal with. But nonetheless, email will go out with a timestamp of when you need to respond by. If you know Heidi, reach out to her and be the person to tell her before she even gets the email. With that, thank you guys so much for watching. We really appreciate every single one of you so very much. Have a great one. And remember, if we don't take care of each other, something went wrong.
Boom.